bring in Chris Conway now from the Australian Stock Report for more on the market trading today. Chris, great to have your company on the show. So yeah, we can't seem to hold on to the gains we've been making. There's a lot going on, obviously, globally with the bond market rout as well. But what do you make of a 0.6% loss so far today?
Good morning, Ingrid. It's about where I expected the market to be on the back of the flat leads from the overnight session. Of course, we've seen the Aussie market rally for the past 2 days on the back of a rally in the US and then the budget event as well. So, yeah, look, just a little bit of steam coming out of the market. My longer-term view for the market is that we still move lower from here. The commodity story, we've seen commodities rally sharply in the past month or so. Those gains are clearly unsustainable, that pace certainly. So some of the gains that we've seen in the materials sector might come off. As you mentioned in the lead-up, that's already starting to happen today with some of the big iron ore producers off. And the other factor, of course, was the RBA recently cutting rates, not having the impact potentially that everyone suspected it would. So, yeah, those factors that had been driving the market higher, potentially drying up, and further weakness on the cards from where we sit. Yeah,
you're suggesting there'll be more weakness for the banks as well. Just looking at some of the broker recs today on the banks, JP Morgan has put ANZ in overweight, saying that is short of capital, suggesting that it's short of capital relative to peers is actually misleading, and saying that putting NAB at the top is not their view. They don't think that $5.5 billion rights issue necessarily puts NAB ahead of the others. What's your view on the banks going forward? I mean, in terms of sort of where they sit, ANZ versus NAB?
Yeah, look, in terms of ANZ, that would probably be our preferred play out of the big four, and that's because of their exposure to Asia, where there is still significant growth occurring. It would allow ANZ to achieve growth outside of the system growth that's available in Australia, so potentially puts them out ahead on that front. In terms of capital, look, I'd have to disagree with JP. I think the aggressive rights issue from NAB does put them out in front, or at least puts them on equal footing with NAB. But in terms of the banks overall, they still look pricey to us. I reckon another 10 to 15%, and that's when they become exceptionally compelling. That doesn't mean they won't move higher from here, of course, but they're just, the investment case for them isn't quite there yet in terms of the way we see it.
I want to talk Graincorp as well, out with numbers today, obviously. The stock close to 5% weaker right now, and that's despite reiterating or reaffirming its full-year earnings outlook. What did you take out of the result for Graincorp to see investors selling it off?
Yeah, look, the numbers themselves were disappointing. That being said, they were within the recent guidance that they put out. Look, Graincorp's one that's confounded me for some time. I don't see a lot of positives in it. The Bureau of Meteorology 2 days ago said that there is a significant El Nino event occurring in Australia at the moment, which means that we're going to have hotter, drier conditions for longer, which means that their handling of grain and their storing of grain is going to continue to fall. Now, I know some of their other metrics on today's numbers were better than expected, but this primarily is a grain handling and storage business, and that looks likely to come under continued pressure moving forward. There's also competitive pressures, and that's all against the backdrop of the stock rising from around $8 in January to $10 or mid-10s just recently. So the fundamental story and the way the price has been moving don't marry up. And the only explanation that I can have for that is that amid a changed regulatory environment, there might be someone looking to take a significant stake in Graincorp. Of course, the Archer Daniels Midland takeover fell apart after FIRB blocked it, but we think there are some international companies out there sniffing around and potentially building a strategic stake in Graincorp as well.
Those weaker retail sales out of the US overnight, obviously sending the Aussie dollar surging above that 81 US cent mark, mainly, of course, a greenback story, but also sending the gold price rallying overnight, 5-week highs. You like the gold space. What in particular do you like in terms of stock specific?
In terms of stock specific, I think it was last week on the show I mentioned